Sorry, a power outage caused us to lose the live stream on the channel. So welcome back, and please give us a few minutes while we sort out our details. We want to make sure that we catch all your questions about the Dynamax system. Alex, welcome back. And we're going to be a few minutes while we get everybody reconnected and make sure that we can continue our broadcast. Alex, can you hear me all right?
That means this one is going to be dead, which is okay. We can leave that. Go back here. Refresh.
Okay, we're back.
Take two.
Take two.
And there's the kitchen. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Let's see if it'll keep it moving.
I can hear you, Alex. Can you hear me?
All right.
Can you hear me all right?
Oh. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Okay, we're back. We've got a few people
good.
watching. I'm sure.
Got them in here.
Okay, this will give us an opportunity. Of course, this can be watched back by our viewers, who will make sure that we get links sent out to everybody on the list so they can see the part two. But it will give us an opportunity to catch up on a few questions that were coming in. So somebody was saying if the battery temperatures were getting too hot,
yep.
What else could they do besides the ventilation hole? What would you recommend?
That is where I would open up the probably adjust this camera. That's probably where I would open up the door. Open the door so that you can get airflow into that compartment.
Setting up a portable fan or something like that wouldn't be a bad option as well. Mm-hmm. Anywhere where you're not going to just have the stagnant air there.
Right. We need to get an airflow to let that cool off.
That sounds good. Now, somebody else said, is it all right to be running the system while I'm driving, as far as actually using power, running the fridge or having a light on or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally okay. If you want to go ahead and use your system while you're going down the road, that's all right. You do have to keep in mind that you are going to be using power. So you probably won't be charging it all the way up. You'll be using it while you're going down the road. So you got to make sure that that's in mind as well.
Right. And will the system currently, this is another question that came in on YouTube, will the system currently run AC if somebody's not plugged into the power pedestal?
Yeah, if you're not plugged into shore, we can turn the air conditioning on with no problem.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And how long will that roughly last on the battery that's there?
And your variables, one is obviously outside temperature is your biggest variable. If it's 100 degrees out, you're going to be running that AC at full blast. When we did our testing, we tested multiple air conditioners. Our goal was to get somewhere from 6 to 7 hours continuous. I would say that's a pretty fair estimate. And we tested that when it was very hot, humid out, and we were able to achieve that. From our customers who have them now, they can probably say the exact same. We're getting into that really hot stretch, and I think that's a pretty fair number. Our goal was to be able to, so you could get a good night's sleep and not have to wake up and you're super hot. So, the key always with any RV is to try to do the things to maintain and keep your temperature at a reasonable temperature rather than the fluctuations. If I go into my house and my house is 85 degrees, it's going to take a long time to cool that down to a comfortable, say 70 or 72 degrees. Same thing with an RV, but even more so. So that's the big thing that we see is if you can, ration that AC out throughout the day, then your AC won't have to work as hard to catch back up.
Absolutely. Oh.
One of the things we wanted to walk through is shutting down the entire system and then also starting it right back up again. So Alex, maybe you could help us walk through that process, but also maybe you could help us understand when that's necessary or when that's applicable.
Absolutely. For this, we actually are going to go ahead and step down to the well here again, the stairwell. All right. So first,
let's do like, say we're gonna park it for 3 weeks and we don't want to touch it, we don't want to ruin our batteries, do anything. We want to be able to come back and hop in it and go, because that's one of the great things about a motorhome is there's very little prep. You can hop in and go.
Absolutely. So we'll start there. First, lay of the land, right? You've got your disconnect switch up here, you've got your aggregator screen down here, you have the eGEN button. Let's go ahead and start with the turning it off. You can do this one of two methods. My preferable method is on the screen.
Oh, Alex, I think you're covering the mic with your hand.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, we just want to be able to hear you for sure. Perfect.
All right, so we'll do that. So the preferable method is to use this F1 key, right? This is going to be, I'll back that up just a little bit. You're going to push the F1 button. It's going to say, are you sure? Do you want to go ahead and shut down? You hit yes, it will start. Down here, you'll see the blinking lights. Now, it takes about 45...
Our lights just went out, so it's starting to do that.
Yep. Takes about 45 seconds for our batteries to fully shut down and about 45 seconds for our batteries to come fully back online.
So it's cycling through. You're going to hear your disconnect, that little switch that you may hear when you hit the red toggle switch, that little click. We just heard that. You're starting to hear a few of the fans kind of cool down, and then you're seeing the flashing lights. So now, Alex, what do we have here?
So now we're at totally dead zero, right? Our batteries are completely off. At this point, I would feel safe just walking away and being done with it for a while. We do still have our storage protocol, so what we might end up doing is every so many months come back, check on the system, but they're in a dormant state right now, so we're doing pretty good.
Do you have to do anything inside the battery box itself? So there's the solar quarter turn,
yes,
as well as the quarter turn for the batteries.
For storage purposes, I would say let's go ahead and turn off the quarter turn and probably turn off the quarter turn for the solar as well. We don't want any power to be just distributed amongst the vehicle while we're in storage.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So really do what Alex just did there, then go into your battery box in the driver's side rear compartment, turn all those knobs all the way off to be safe, and now you're good to store this.
Absolutely. Now, coming back online is very, very simple. You have this button. Remember, we have everything turned off. You can't actually hit anything. It's not going to do anything. It's got no power. We come down over here. You're going to hit the button for a second or two. You're going to start seeing your LEDs pulse and come up online. Battery A is going to be your parent battery. That's your inside-most battery. Battery B is your child battery. That's your outside-most battery, closest to the door. These LEDs are going to be at 100% luminosity, so they're going to give you a lot of light. And then when they are fully online, they're going to drop to 50%.
You can start to see those batteries flicker and flash and dim and get brighter. That's completely normal. That's the system working itself.
Mm-hmm. So
there we hear a couple clicks right here, and that's sensing that the batteries are going online.
Now, once you're here, you have your batteries fully online. I can hear the clicks that just happened. You're going to hit your battery disconnect button. Sometimes it doesn't work, and actually we got to do the reset, which is you hold for about 10 seconds. Release it, hit it again, and all of your systems start to come back online.
Okay, so we heard that beep, and now we can hit our lights, and now we're back in action. So that's how you would do a full, completely off. So if you're storing it, not going to be using it for a long period of time, you can go ahead and do this.
Yep.
Say we were just going to maybe come back to it later today. We're going to go out for a hike in the afternoon. What's going to be the best thing to do? Maintain that, hey, the batteries are going to be doing their thing, not discharge. What would you recommend?
So if it's just like a day trip, you're going to go out and then you're going to come back. A lot of the time, what I'll end up doing is stay. Let's go ahead and hit the disconnect button. That turns off all of your internal lights, but you're going to still have your LEDs down here, meaning that your batteries are still on. You won't get your readout, but your batteries are still on. So whenever you do come back to your vehicle, if you hit your battery disconnect in here, everything will come back online and you will have full power again. It's just before you're saving power. You're not drawing all of it. That's the biggest thing that we're looking at there, giving you length of time out of these batteries.
So when we hit the red switch, we're going to disconnect, as we said, all of the Firefly components. So anything that's tied into that, which would be your air conditioner, which would be your lights, your refrigerator as well in that regard. One of the things that we get the question on is your solar going to be doing anything at that point? So say I hit the red switch, is my solar still working? Am I able to then maybe bring up my battery level a little bit?
Yeah, actually, that's a great question. The solar is going to be doing stuff. If you have the battery disconnect turned off, the batteries actually are controlling the solar. If it can take a charge, if it needs a charge, it will allow the solar to do that. If the batteries are topped up all the way or they're turned completely off, it'll disconnect solar, so you won't have that as an option. That's why generally when you're in storage, you would turn the solar disconnect off, is because you don't want any remnant 12 volts coming down through that line.
Great.
I just want to take a moment and say thank you, everybody, for joining us again. And we apologize that we did have a little bit blip with technology, but we've started back up. So thanks for coming to hang out, Larry and Ikaros and Duca and Roberta. We appreciate seeing you in the chat. I do have a question that came in ahead of time about if you are going to do that long-term storage, what should you know about what temperatures should you be removing the battery? Should we just leave the battery? What kind of maintenance is necessary for long-term storage?
So we do have in our owner's manual the proper guide of what you should be doing with that, and I'm going to lean towards that. This is all going to be from my head. Yeah. So what we have going on here, long-term storage. Yeah. Page 28 of our owner's manual is going to detail this a lot better. But the basic premise is, like I said, the batteries are most comfortable where you're comfortable. 32 degrees Fahrenheit up to 132. That's our kind of butter zone, our range that we want to be at. Below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you're no longer going to get a charge into the battery. You're not going to be able to put power into it. But you can still take from it. You can do that until you hit -4 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you can no longer take any power out. And that's kind of your no-no zone, right? As long as you're not doing any power exchange, you're okay with leaving the battery dormant there. But like I said, page 28 of your owner's manual is going to give you a lot more details on that. It looks like if you're leaving your battery for about a week or less, -4 to 113 is kind of your range that you want to be at. If you're going for 6 months or more, 50 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So you probably want to take the battery, put it into a nice area, a warm area.
And there's a pretty easy way too to disconnect those batteries. Alex, you're showing.
Oh yeah.
That. So if you are, say you have a storage unit, but it's a barn and you know that it's going to be colder than that 50 degrees and you're going to break down camp in October and you're not going to be camping again until April. Alex, let's show them real quick on how to do that.
First, we're going to unplug that because we don't need to have... Okay. All right. So right now we have the full systems going. I unplugged from shore, so we don't have to worry about too much electricity going on there. This top one, like I said before, that's going to be your DC disconnect. We're going to just turn that off so that we can play around in here without having issues, sparks and any of that nature. Right here, this very first one, let's see if I can get the camera in the right area. We have what we call our Rebling connector. The Rebling connector is a very nice system. It's just I think it's a half-turn system. It's just this lever on the front. You're going to turn it, and as you turn it, you're going to see the connector pop out. And there you go. Now you're disconnected. You don't have to worry about any of the studs or anything like that, torquing ratings and all that. This takes care of everything right there. On the inside, you are going to have our Deutsch connector. This is our connection for communication, right? These are smart batteries. They talk to the entire system, and that's how we get it done. You would pull either side of the battery clip, and that would come out. Same thing going in. And this one, oh, let's see if I can do it one-handed. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. Snaps right in, and you're all done. Down at the bottom, you do have 2 tech screws. Onto the side, you also have 2 other tech screws, and I do believe that we put toes. Yep, one right here, and then it's going to be on the back battery as well. Again, as I was saying, that's your child battery. That's your parent battery back there.
So what would one way, rather than having to mess with taking all of this apart and all that, would you recommend that perhaps if you have the unit in storage is to come out and just turn the system on, run it a little bit? Would that be a good solution rather than just abandoning it for 6 months?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Coming back and getting periodic use out of the battery is brilliant. You definitely need to be doing that because it gives the work at the it works the battery system and the whole inverter and everything. Make sure that it still is working.
One thing that I've seen at some of the dealerships, we can go on inside, talk as we go, is say it's just sitting there for, it might be a month, and the batteries get all the way down to 0, or one of the batteries goes offline. How do we do a reset on that to be able to get a battery back online?
Okay. All right. So if a battery does happen to go offline, what you're going to see here down at the bottom, it does say 2 of 2 right now. That's stating that both batteries are online. If you only have one battery, you're only going to see 1 of 2. And actually, we can go create that real quick. I'll leave that there.
So Alex is going to take one of the batteries offline, and while he does that, I'm going to show, we'll just focus in right here on the 2 of 2. And when he disconnects one of the batteries, now we're at 48. So it shows 1 of 2 batteries. So a lot of times we'll see out in the field, if a customer might have a battery at 50% and they've been charging the whole time and they've been plugged in, take a look at that. Make sure that you've got 2 of 2 batteries showing. And pass it back to you, Alex.
No worries. So yeah, as Michael was saying, that is one of the more important things to note is, hey, how many batteries do you have? And it actually does give you a fault down here at the bottom. It says that there is a CAN fault. In that instance, that's letting us know there's something going on. Oop.
Okay, Alex, your phone's just frozen for a minute, so I'm just going to turn it on and turn it right back off. So just give me a second here.
Okay.
Okay, your phone is back, but it looks like the screen's still frozen. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, I can hear you also. And I can see you on the other cameras, but your phone is updating on the preview, but not on the actual window. Give me another second here.
No problem.
Okay, I'm not sure about that one for a moment. Give me a second on that one. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought there.
That's okay. Hey, that's all right. We'll come back to that one.
That's all right. Chris was asking when we were talking about the battery standards on page 28 of the manual, which manual is that?
Oh, I apologize. So the manual that I was referencing was the Xantrex manual for the 310 batteries. right? So if you go to Xantrex.com, I believe it comes with the Isata 3s. There's a manual that comes with for our Xantrex smart batteries, our 310 batteries.
Good question.
Yes.
Okay. Great, cool. So we're going to keep moving along. What's the difference between a battery disconnect by the steps versus the battery bay versus a solar disconnect? Maybe you could just high level that.
Right on. So the battery disconnect in here is your 12-volt disconnect. So that turns on all of your powers to your lights, 12-volt devices inside the vehicle. And that's what I said earlier when you leave the vehicle. Usually you'll hit that disconnect so that you don't draw power. The is going to change it's going to take the power away from the entire system, even the inverters, and it's just going to be the batteries by themselves, and the power is going to be going to their bus bar, but that's it. And then the solar, that system is cut directly from the solar into the battery bus bar. So if you turn that off, you no longer have solar feeding into the system.
Okay. And when should we put the battery in recovery mode, and how do we do that?
Recovery mode. Okay. Recovery mode usually happens if the batteries are excessively drained. Excessively drained means below 12 volts, right? Or if you get down to that 10% limit that I was telling you about earlier, and you get the countdown timer in the upper left corner, recovery will become an option. If you have to put your vehicle into recovery, contact Dynamax and we'll walk you through the whole process. It's kind of a little bit of a song and a dance, but we want to make sure that we get you through it. Main thing to take away from that is we want to make sure that you keep this plugged in at above 10% as much as you can.
Okay. Okay, so we had another question that came in on the forums, and it said, what should we see on the eGEN SoC meter, and what are the best ways to use the meter for ongoing use and monitoring?
Yeah, so it's a lot of what we spoke about earlier. You're always looking for green on that monitor. The one thing you want to look out for is that you've got 2 of 2 batteries that are selected in that bottom right. Be familiar with the glossary with that extra tab. So if there are any faults, you'll be able to look those up and then decipher what the issue could potentially be, if there's an issue whatsoever. So that's what you'd want to be looking at. We went through a bit of that earlier, specifically on the breakdowns of where the green goes down to, what was it, 40? 41. And then you've got your red or your yellow that will be 40 to
21,
and then your red below that.
Yes.
So those are some of the things you definitely will want to be familiar with. There's a lot that you can do from that screen. One thing that Alex and I always talk about, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can get in the weeds big time on this, because this system has a ton of capabilities. But if you are trying to change some of those parameters, you don't know how it's going to affect others. Right. Same thing with the Firefly system that is in here. If sometimes there's updated versions of the software. Well, a lot of times that version that we update at Dynamax is because of the air conditioner, the new air conditioner may have changed slightly. It's not that it's better, it just works and is more compatible for what we're building at the time. So for instance, when we ask, hey, what version of the Firefly do you have? We want to make sure that if nothing is going wrong, then we don't need to update that version to the current version, because it may not communicate. We may start getting some funky signals. So that's something there. But those settings are the ones that we went over at the very beginning, that we'll also have readily available to you. Those are ones that Xantrex and Dynamax believes are the go-to settings.
Sure.
So I hope that answers the question a little bit on the SoC screen.
Yeah, and when we're talking about settings, how should we use the Xantrex BMS app to monitor the batteries? And now that we've got the app, what are we looking for?
Right. So the Xantrex app and it's the Xantrex app. Don't use the Xantrex battery app. Don't use the Xantrex FXC or the Xantrex control app. We've got a couple of them out there. the pure Xantrex app itself. What it does is it connects directly to the batteries themselves, and you're going to be seeing the serial numbers of the batteries populate onto that list, and that's what you're going to be looking at. The serial number is printed on the top of each one of our batteries, so if you don't know which one you have, that's a good indication. Just take a look at the top of the battery. It'll tell you. And it gives you the percentage of that specific battery, right? Like we said, the eGEN screen before, that'll give you kind of an aggregated that gives you everything. But the, oh no, did I lose you?
I'm still here, and I can hear you, but your screen's frozen. The kitchen laptop screen is frozen for some reason.
That's okay. That's okay. We can deal with that. Oh, I lost my train of thought, y'all.
We were talking about the Xantrex app.
Yes, Xantrex app. So it'll give you real-time data of the actual the percentage left on the battery, that specific battery. It also gives you that specific battery's voltage, and it will give you that specific battery's temperature as well. So it's great for troubleshooting purposes, and we often will use it for that. But it's also great if you want to know what your battery voltage and state of charge is for that specific battery.
Okay. Maybe, Alex, if you could move down to the doorway, we can see you on the cab laptop while Michael is getting us restarted out on the... looks like we might have it back. There we go. Yes, we've got it back. Sorry about that. And
already moved me over here.
While we're chatting about apps, tell me about the Victron app.
Yes, the Victron app. So the Victron app is very useful for the solar, right? For this particular model, we've decided to go with an outside company, not Xantrex. We went with Victron, and so it gives you a Bluetooth connectivity to that solar charge controller. You can see how much power you're bringing in from that system.
Yeah, it's very useful when you've got, for instance, if you're not quite sure if you're getting some of the solar coming on in. So say you've got a dirty solar panels, or you're in the shade, or you're not sure if you've got a loose connection. That's a great app to be able to go in and see, hey, is it working the way that it's intended to work? All of the Freedoms have 3 190-watt solar panels on the roof. So it takes up the majority of the roof. Those are large solar panels in addition to your air conditioner and all the other hardware that's up there. So that's a great one to be able to monitor, but that is just for the solar and whether that is producing anything for your coach.
Okay, we've also had questions about how the Firefly should be set and what should we be watching for with the Firefly?
Oh, guys. All right. Let's see. All right. Can we see my display, or am I just looking around?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay. All right. Now that's going to cover up that. Okay. So here's your Firefly display in and of itself. Now, I'm no Firefly expert, but I can find my way around if I need to. The way that you would have the Firefly set up from the Xantrex point of view, right? Right beneath it, you do have your pathway. It tells you where everything is going. And right now we do have a fault. That's because I have one of the batteries disconnected. We can see that down here. We can see battery 1, battery 2. This is going to be your parent. That's going to be your child. And so that's going to be doing the same thing as the eGEN screen itself, but on the Firefly display, right? Less capabilities. This just gives you a readout. The eGEN screen can actually do all of the other things. We can put you into recovery mode. We can turn the batteries on and off. This is just the display, but it does give you kind of a nice readout of all of your systems. Gives you, if you're using the power the way that you're using it right now, how long would you have? In this case, it's 409 hours and 58 minutes. Pretty good time. If we are looking at this, that'll give you your pass-through and your bulk. It'll let you know what's going on. I actually turned the pass-through off, but that's okay.
They're talking more like
generally
the Xantrex settings. We went over some of these a little bit earlier.
Generally, this would be preset for you. And like I said, we are going to publish something online to kind of give you what your breakdowns are. But this is your general setup as of right now.
If, for instance, Alex, so say something got messed up, the numbers, say we'll just say like teenager got on there and started clicking all the buttons and messing everything up. How do I get back to the default settings, or is there a way to do something like that?
There is, but I don't know how to do it from. Is there a way to do it from Firefly? Do you know?
Not through Firefly.
Okay,
but
through our inverter itself. There's a good way to do it. What you would end up doing, first off, you can call our customer service line just to kind of help you out with it as well, the Dynamax customer service line. But the other way to go about it would be to, it's a 99 reset. So you would push and hold the OK button on the inverter itself. It's upside down, so it's a little bit of a game. You'd push and hold it for about 5 seconds. Then you would push and hold the arrow button. It'll back up 1 to 99, and you can do a 99 reset. You click OK, move the arrow to default, click OK again, and it'll reset the entire inverter. That'll take you to stock everything out of the box.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so question about the Firefly and battery firmware versions and what version should be used.
So this is something that Michael touched on earlier. It is important. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's one of the big things that I hear all the time. And when it comes to the Firefly updates, when it comes to the Xantrex updates, that's kind of...
Sorry, Alex, I don't mean to cut you off. Can you go stand up by the kitchen laptop?
Yes.
Unfortunately, the cab one is frozen, and we'd love to see what you're saying.
That's okay. I'll be here. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it is kind of one of the biggest things that I like to go with. For the earlier versions of the Isata 3, some of the very first ones that went out, it was version 5.5 on the Firefly display, and we needed it to be there because there was an issue that we had been seeing. It is on the RVC network, so we were butting heads on a specific area. And so we got together with Firefly, we figured out what it needed to do, and 5.5 is where we need to be there. Now, I know they have subsequent ones after that. I don't know what they've changed there, but I know that 5.5 for sure is where we need to start, right? Now, on the newer ones, I think we're at 6.5 is what's on this display here.
But again, those are a lot of stuff that doesn't pertain to the Xantrex side of things. That could be something, again, that the air conditioner has been modified, or we changed and put a different, something with the electrical system itself. Mm-hmm. Some little bug maybe with the Truma, the Truma Combi, those type of things. So that's where you really, if you do have, or you suspect that you have an issue, that's where you want to reach out to our Dynamax customer service. And then we can go step by step, because there's certain, we'll call them serial numbers of where we know that, hey, we changed the logic on it. And that's going to be much more efficient than just saying, well, I need to go to whatever is the newest. Newest is not the greatest a lot of times, because it doesn't pertain to your unit. True.
So the next question we have is going back to batteries. How do we restart a battery that drops offline?
Okay, great. So we've got that system right now. We just took one battery offline back there. So let's go through that.
All right. Now, we'll start down here and we'll go there. Let's see here. So on this display, we're seeing one of two batteries. And one of the easiest ways to get another battery online is this button right here. You would hit this button, and then that light should come online. That'll start the other battery. Now, it's not going to happen in this case because I've actually fully unplugged it. But that is also something that we need to be looking at, right? Let's go for a quick walk over, and I'll show you what I did. As easy as that. We need to make sure that we're still plugged in. And now, if we go back to the eGEN screen, we should now see battery 2 of 2. And then if we go down to our LEDs, we also have both LEDs online.
Now, in that instance that the question pertained to was, say one of them did get completely knocked offline. And you're looking at, you checked your connections are good. However, we still are just showing 50. What do we need to do in that regard?
In that aspect, I would get a hold of the customer service team. That'll be important to walk you through what's going on. Several of it could be a number of different things, but mostly if you've tried to hit the button and bring it back online, if you're attached to a source and you still can't get the battery online, then you would get a hold of us and we'll take a look and see what we can do. But that's something else I should have mentioned. Shore power. Turn the engine on or connecting to shore is also a very big help, and it does solve quite a few issues. Making sure that you actually have power in those batteries.
So is this something that the Xantrex Bluetooth panel would help you monitor? And if somebody wanted to add on something like that, how would they add it onto their system?
Absolutely. So the Bluetooth module, it's a Bluetooth remote is what it is. It's just a mimic screen of what's already on the inverter itself. It's very easy to add. It's just there's a little plug on the back side of the inverter. It's right above where the Firefly plugs in, the multiplex system plugs in. Right above that, there's an RJ12 port. And it's the same cable that actually, whenever you buy a Xantrex Bluetooth remote, it comes with the cable. I believe it's 25 feet. You plug that into the remote spot, plug the remote in, and then you would have full capability Bluetooth while you use the Xantrex FXC, Xantrex Control app. It'll give you the serial number of the inverter that you're playing with, and you can set all of the settings from that. Will it help you monitor stuff? It does have a monitoring feature onto it, but it's the same information that you're going to be seeing from the Firefly display and from the eGEN display itself.
So we got a question related to those, that system with the battery. Somebody's asking, they'd like to know which is battery A and battery B and how the system manages the two batteries in terms of discharging and charging during regular use. And maybe we could lump that in with a follow-up question that came live off YouTube, which is about how long of a lifetime is expected for these batteries.
Okay. So battery A is going to be parent battery, the farthest in battery for the box that's there. That also is going to line up with, on the Firefly display, battery number 1. So we've got 1A and parent. They're all the same thing. Battery 2 on the Firefly display, battery B on the Xantrex remote is child battery. That's the outside most battery in that battery box itself.
So that's going to be the one closest to you is the outside battery. So if you're looking at it, you're inside, that's the one closest to you. The one furthest away or closest in the middle of the coach is going to be your A battery or your parent battery.
True. And then, Adam, I do apologize. I went away from you there. What was the second half of that?
No, the second one was, what is the expected lifespan on these batteries?
Battery life. Great question. 10-year. We have a 10-year warranty on it. And I think we said that we're up to 6,000 cycles top to bottom. That's 100% down to 0%. So to be honest, we don't know because we haven't hit it yet. We haven't done a 10-year with these batteries quite yet. But we do have a 10-year warranty, so we know at least that.
So someone is mentioning they have a specific question about COV, cell over voltage issue with battery A that comes and goes. And they wonder whether this battery may have a permanent issue if the COV doesn't rectify itself within a few charging cycles.
No. Okay. So I think you asked something about this earlier and I forgot about it. This is very helpful. So COV is cell overvolt. That means one of the cells in the battery has gone higher than the others. There's a parameter that we can look at there. That's normal under charging conditions with the charge setup that we have, the algorithm that we have in place, right? It's something that we expect to see. One of the first things when you get an Isata 3 Freedom Edition that we would want you to do is plug it in for as long as you can, right? 2, 3, 5 a week, 2 weeks, whatever you can last with, because we have 2 batteries, right? And so they are working independently, but if we can meld them together, which is what we're doing with that long-term plugging it in, we can make it work as one big battery pack. And that's kind of what we're trying to get to is so we have 12 cells in each one of these batteries, so 24 overall. So that's why one of them is going to overvolt. You've got 12 to look after. We want to try to make sure we get every cell just about in the same range, up and down.
So will that be something that over time will kind of fix itself as long as we're plugged in, or?
Yeah, as long as we're plugged in and we're using the vehicle, it will rectify itself. Eventually, we will be fully balanced.
What would you say in this customer's case where he said, well, it's a few up and down where it's cell overvolt? Where would you kind of be like, well, that might be a concern? Is there a number or is it something you just don't see? Something that automatically fixes itself?
It does rectify itself. The batteries will clear their own faults when it comes to that. And so I would just, for the moment, I would try to do cell balancing with that. Let it stay plugged in for as long as possible. If you do that for a couple weeks and it's still doing it, maybe at that point get a hold of customer service and we'll see if there's something more that we need to be looking at. But if it's something very worrying for you, let us know. We'll take a look.
So when shore power is lost, how can the coach automatically go to the battery for the 120 volt side of the house, not just the 12 volt side?
So this is it's a normal function of this inverter. It has an internal transfer switch. So if you have shore power, if you have 120 volts coming into it, it will use that power as a pass-through. So it'll let it go straight through the inverter, power any loads that you have inside your vehicle. It also will take excess current and use that to charge your batteries. Now, in the case of you lose shore,
so say I go out there and I pull the shore, what's it going to do to the inside here?
What's going to happen is it's a 20 millisecond transfer time. That's what we have this vehicle set to. You pull the cord, 20 milliseconds later, we're going to go from shore inlet to battery is now operating the rest of all of the current, the 120 and the 12 volts, straight from the batteries.
So it is designed, and if it's not doing that transfer on over, and maybe we're misinterpreting the question, if it's not transferring over to the 110 side, then there's something that will need to get looked at. But that's how it's designed. It is designed to pull shore power, and then the batteries will take over just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, 20 milliseconds. If that's something that you're not seeing, we definitely want to hear about it. Get a hold of customer service because that's maybe not a usual thing.
Okay, I'm hoping that the live stream is working, but for some reason my preview window's freezing on that kitchen laptop. So maybe you could head down to the door. But we do have a question that came in from David, and he says, when my power source changes, let's say from while his AC is running, and it doesn't switch over, the inverter fan starts running at max speed, and it doesn't reset without being shut off and turned back on. And this happens when the engine is running, the AC is running, and then you turn off the engine. What is happening, and is there a setting that he should be considering adjusting?
So let's recap that again. So he's got the engine running.
Engine is running.
He says, if my power source changes, for instance, if my shore power fails while my AC is running, the system freaks out and shuts down. It doesn't switch over, and the inverter fan starts running at max speed.
Excessive draw. So in that instance, if I would, so it's kind of a twofold situation. Away and you have excessive loads on, so more than what the 3,000 watt inverter will handle, you could have a dropout like this, right? The inverter does have a fault code scenario into it, so it could drop, and then you would have an error code that would be displayed, and you might not have your 120 volts. In that case, you would have to do a system reset, which is just turn the inverter off, turn it back on, and you should be set to go. You have to clear what that is.
We've
So-
got someone from the Dynamax. We've got someone from the Dynamax team who's clarifying: is that AC like shore power, or is that AC like air conditioning? So maybe David will be able to clarify that for us, and maybe that makes a little bit more sense for his question. Did you have thoughts on that, Michael?
Well, that's kind of, I was thinking of that there, but I was also kind of gonna touch on the fact of just kind of trying to get more clarity on that question. It was just a little bit confusing.
Yeah. David says it's the air conditioning specifically.
Okay.
Okay.
But,
So I guess my question would be: what other loads? Like Alex had said, there's more than likely there's more than the system, just the inverter could handle. So say that you've got everything in the coach running, your AC's running. You might have a curling iron on. You might have the shower running. You might have a blender going in a coffee pot or something like that.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of the variables of what is running at that time, but that seems like there's a little bit more to that.
okay, so what's going to be David's next step to figure that one out? And we're probably not going to figure that out right
No.
now on the broadcast.
It's be a right now thing. Get a hold of our customer service line, and I'll see if I can help you out with what's going on there.
Okay, great. So there you go, David. Get a hold of Alex through the customer service would be the way to do that. What are the parameters on the inverter for the Freedom Edition configuration, and how do you configure them with or without Xantrex remote control panel? Is this going back to the settings that we talked about in our first question, Alex?
Yes, this is just the settings question.
Okay.
It comes from factory. We'll post up somewhere all of the settings that we use, but it should come from factory set already for you.
Got it. Well, I've held you guys out longer than we said. We said we were going to go till about an hour on the broadcast, and we've had lots of great questions from our viewers. Of course, we had some questions that came in ahead of time. We do have one more question that I wanted to tackle, and I think we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. Somebody's asking about the ambient temperatures and whatever concerns there might be for high temperatures, for instance, in Florida or out west during the summer. So can you give us, again, just an overview of what kind of extreme conditions the system can still work with? Which ones have to be considered?
So extreme conditions, let's say Florida, let's say hot. You are looking at the, what would we say? 1 degree Fahrenheit is what we're looking at. So we want to try to keep that cool as possible, that compartment. It does have a 3-inch hole in the ceiling so that you can have that vent going up into the cabin here. If you are stationary, it might not be the worst idea in the world to crack the door open so that you can get airflow from the outside world as well. On the flip side of things, if you are all the way into like Alaska and you're going really cold temperatures, our batteries actually do have internal heaters. So we can, if we're plugged into shore, if we have engine power, we can heat our own batteries. And that will be described in our owner's manual for our 310 amp hour batteries as well. Your battery or your eGEN system's already set up to do that one time. So if you're plugged into shore and the battery senses that it is below the temperature it needs to be, well, if you plug into shore, sorry, if you're plugged into shore, it'll always keep the battery at temperature wherever it needs to be. If you're not on shore power, it'll use its own supply one time to bring the battery powers up to be charged.
Great. Well, Alex, Michael, thank you so much for being part of the broadcast today. Thank you, everybody who's watching. Any final thoughts, Alex or Michael, that you'd like to share?
And Adam, where can we find this rebroadcast? Will it be somewhere so if someone missed a certain detail, they can go back and take a look?
Yep, exactly wherever somebody's watching right now, they'll be able to watch it, the replay, as soon as the live stream finishes. And of course, the first half is available through the link where the first half was broadcast. And of course, we'll make sure that those links get sent out so anybody who wants to rewatch them can rewatch them however they would like.
There you go.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you.
Michael, Alex, thank you for being a part of this and being the experts and making us all look good. We appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you on our next Q&A. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the road.